Welcome once again. This is Devin with Writing Daily, where we talk about writing daily. I'm a couple minutes late. I apologize that I've had a number of things going on here that I'm going to share about it with you. To be quite honest with you, I'm a little bit distracted. It's a rainy day, and like 3 days ago, my cat, I've had the cat for like 12, 13 years, ran away. I'm not sure if she's sick. She's always been sort of like a sickly little creature, but certainly part of the family, and it's raining outside and not sure what to do. Or, I don't know if there's any tricks. I mean, I've kind of knocked on all the neighbors' doors and posted her disappearance multiple times. There are people who are big, like I knew a guy who was like a biker who his cat passed and he was completely distraught. I don't know if that's me per se, but it's kind of a sad thing. And so I have to kind of recognize it. She's not an outdoor cat, not even in the least. And there's a lot of ferals here. So I have a feeling that she went outside and then ran into a feral or two, and they might have shooed her away. I don't know how this cat thing works, but that all said, we're going to get into writing because that's what we do here every single day, whether you are writing a letter to your grandmother or you are finishing your first novel. I'm here to help, and it helps me. I'm here. So always feel free to hit the wow button, hit the like button, hit the sad button if it's confusing. But we talk about writing, and feel free to subscribe to me on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, and join me on devingalladay.com. So today we're going to get into the thick of it now. And the thick of it is, and this kind of happened by accident. Over the last couple of days, I've had some people, or I've been actually commenting on, how to kind of start promoting yourself. And I'm giving specific answers. And then somebody wrote me, hey, can you give us just sort of like a brief overview? Because I'm finding that in speaking to my publisher and speaking to my editor and speaking to some other people, that people write books, and that's great. And they turn them in and they sell their books. And then when it's time to start promoting yourself, because truthfully, part of the reason why I'm doing what you're seeing right now is so I can kind of tell the universe I'm putting myself out there every single day of the week without fail. And hopefully I can provide some value along the way, which is sort of like my bigger goal anyway. So that said, when I speak to these other people, most people don't do anything. And I found, especially yesterday, I think I commented it on yesterday, is that I've been trying to, get writers onto this little show so we can provide some value for you. And it's amazing how few people are like, yeah, let me think about it and get back to you. Let's discuss it further. And really, this is like, dude, let's just talk about stuff that we do and talk about writing, things that we love. And so anyway, I'm going to give you a little bit of a tutorial here. I think there's a couple sort of like general ideas that I want to kind of just throw out there, and then some specific things that if you in fact have your book that you can start doing immediately. And for the most part, it doesn't cost you any money. I'm not talking about, don't get me wrong. There's going to be a point down the road where I'm going to do Facebook ads and I'm going to do some other things that are probably going to cost me out-of-pocket experience. But what are you going to do? Your book is out here. I take responsibility for my book. I want you to read it. I want everybody to read it. And so there's things that just kind of come with that. And that means sort of like a little bit of gambling and a little bit of personal sacrifice. And so anyway, the first thing is, especially if you're just getting started, how can you help somebody else? All right. Well, the first thing is showcase your expertise. By that means, if let's say you've written a book on car repair, you can showcase all of your smarts about cars, but it doesn't necessarily have to be limited to that. Let's say if you wrote a book about eggplant preparation for meals, you can still talk about car repair and still include your book and your process and all kinds of other things. That's what I tend to do here. I talk about writing. It's one of my expertise. I have stuff that I know about writing, and so I might as well share it with you guys because there's other writers there. I'm gonna, whether my book sells 1 million copies or not, I'm going to keep reading. So I want great books out there. I want people to be sort of writing their things and really, putting it out there, even though it's scary and weird. So, but the main overall concept, and I talk this a lot in some online classes that I've done, is that overall, if there was one secret thing that I want you to do, that's offer some kind of value. In other words, if you are, let's say, if you wrote a book about eggplant preparation, but you can help people fix their cars, do that. Put yourself out there in some way so you've developed a vehicle that will, do you like that, car repair and vehicle? So you've created a vehicle so that you can just keep putting it out there. So you can keep over every single day or every week or every month, however often you feel that you can do it, is just keep throwing it out there over and over again. So what's the number one way? I think everybody knows this, but I'm going to say it again. Make sure that you're on social media. I am on social media. I'm on Facebook because I kind of keep tabs with people and things like that, and it's a great way to communicate. It's also a terrible way if you're somebody who gets depressed and you don't want to read all the misery in the world. Facebook is something to avoid, but it's something that I think is kind of for lack of a better description, I think it's a necessary evil. I know I said it. I like Facebook, but I think it's something that, it's so prevalent at this point that I think you just have to kind of keep using it. But that doesn't mean that's the only thing that you use. There's lots of outlets. I mean, Twitter is still possible. Instagram is still popular. And I think there are systems within it, like I want to say like Buffer and Hootsuite. So that means you can start creating automation. But remember, like I said before, you're always providing value to some degree. So it's not just self-promotion, self-promotion, self-promotion endlessly, because at some point that just becomes background noise if somebody's doing that. I think when you come from the place of, I actually want to be of service to somebody else, I think that, liking somebody else's comments or supporting somebody else's ventures, whether that just be like a big thumbs up or a comment of support, I think is a useful thing. I think sharing what other people are doing is a great thing. As a matter of fact, I'm probably going to promote this a number of times. This is not my book. This is a woman I went to school with named Angela Brommel. I'm not huge into poetry because I'll be honest with you, I'm a simple guy and much of it is over my head. But Angela, I remember her from school just being so smart and so articulate. And this is her chapbook, and you should find it on Amazon. It's called Plutonium and Platinum Blonde. It's her experiences in Vegas. It's a really good read. So that said, have fun promoting other people and just keep putting yourself out there. Another way to do it, and this is for, let's say if you don't own a website, and we're going to talk about if you do in a second, but if you don't own a website, you don't want to be bothered with a website, although I'm going to disagree with you. I think you should. And this advice is whether you are a website person or a non-owner, is that I think you should at least consider the prospect of guest posting. Basically what that means is you write some kind of an article, you put it on somebody else's website. Perhaps the best example I can give you, that they just finished this, the Huffington Post for ages used to take articles. And if nothing else, from my standpoint as a travel editor and a travel writer, I could always talk to my contacts and say, hey, yes, I'm absolutely going to put your story on in the No Traveler, absolutely can put an article on a trade publication that I've worked with for a long time, and I can probably get something on the Huffington Post because it was pretty easy for a very long time. They have stopped it, so I think it's a little bit more complicated, and you have to kind of find an editor on their team, and you can still do that, but if you can't get into the Huffington Post, there are quite literally millions of other websites that are almost certainly looking for content. So if you create something that's going to be of value, you might have a link back to your author site or your author page or something like that. So if you write a fascinating article that gets seen, hopefully people will click through to your author page and find out more about you. And it's sort of like a penny make dollar theory. And that's kind of where it's become, because there's so many entrepreneurs who are focusing on presenting themselves as often as possible. And some people do it shamelessly, at least to my understanding, but you just keep doing it. So the next thing is you blog if you have a website. And by the way, there are sites like blogger.org, or is it blogger.com? I can't remember which, but there's a number of places where you don't have to be a web person. That it's just they set it up for you, they do everything for you, and all you have to do is write. It's really easy to use. I would say that anybody seeing a blogger.com site is kind of know that you're not taking it all that seriously. So I suggest you do have a website, as I've already reiterated multiple times this week. But I think you should write, blog, be of service to your community, whether they be large or small, to help get your word out. And I think blogging is easy. So, that's happening right now. I just got a beep in from my on my email, and so my editor has written back. I haven't heard from him for a week since I've turned in my my book. Hopefully he has some great news and we're done. Anyway, that said, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing video logs and I'm doing podcasts. And the good thing about the video logs and the podcasts are, first off, they're pretty easy. It's just like, as an example, it's just me talking. And when I get some other human beings here, I'll just be interviewing them and talking with them. And so again, it all kind of comes down to being of service to some degree and hopefully offering something that's going to be of value to someone else. And I think on top of it, just from like a mathematical thing, that more videos get seen than written stories at this stage of the game. So making a podcast, when I say podcast, I'm talking video cast as well. I think podcasts are now just sort of like more of an audio tool officially, but to me, it's all sort of like under the same banner. Moreover, if I do a video cast like this, I can actually break it down into individual components, meaning I do what I'm doing right now. Theoretically, I can have what I've just said transcribed and make it into a written article, or I can strip away the video component of it and then just turn it into an audio file. So that means I've taken this one experience and I've broken it down into 3 different ways so people can find it from whatever is their favorite medium to explore things. So anyway, that's one thing to consider doing, especially if you have your own website. Through Facebook Live, which I'm doing now, is really simple, as well as there is a YouTube variation of this that works well as well. The other way that I suggest you get out there is being on forums. These are basically like your local bulletin boards, and clubs that have sort of like an online thing where you can chat. And what you do is the same way you might blog and say something interesting is the same way you might leave an interesting comment where people can find you that ultimately links to your web stuff. And all of this stuff works best if you take it seriously. Like writing daily, I am doing this every single day. That is my commitment to you and to myself, that I just keep putting it out there and hopefully providing value. And the good news is I keep coming up with something that's going to be useful. So I think that's what we've got today. As always, feel free to ask me questions. I answer everybody. Subscribe, like, follow, all that stuff. Then, of course, find me at devingalladay.com. I am going to be doing this again tomorrow, believe it or not. And we're going to keep talking about writing. I hope you join us, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon.